Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with another live update. Go through some of the news that has caught my attention today, plus some of the comments that have been left on the channel recently. We'll go into the chat section also and see what's happening there. But we'll have a look at the first piece of news today, which is this one here. And it is that the transport strike has been called off on the second day of protests. The National Platform in Defence of Transport has decided to suspend the indefinite strike on what was to be the second day of protests, arguing that it is facing a relentless campaign of harassment. The decision comes after failing to bring the sector to a standstill on its first day. Monday saw a low turnout, in contrast to the protest staged by the same organisation last March. The group, made up mostly of freelancers and SMEs, said in a statement that the campaign they denounce comes from shippers, their clients, employers in the sector, trade unions, a certain political sphere, and even some media outlets. So the transport workers stepping down and calling off that strike, which threatened to bring the country to a standstill like it did back in March when they also had a strike and they did disrupt things fairly seriously. But this one, of course, not getting the same traction. Obviously, there's a lot of influence there because of the big retail days coming up and a lot of people not deciding to get on board with this strike. So it lasted a day, basically. So, interesting. I wonder what those, as we see there, some of the, I wonder what the certain political sphere was and some media outlets that were apparently against this strike. So, interesting piece of news there. Now, second piece of news, this one here. Inflation moderates in October to 7.3%, but food prices rise by 15.3%. The National Statistics Institute has confirmed today that the CPI in October moderated to 7.3% year-on-year, 1.6 points less than in September due to the fall in electricity and gas prices, although it reduced the monthly increase by 1/10 of a point to 0.3%. Food prices hit record highs again. The CPI suddenly cuts its year-on-year rate by 1.6 points to 7.3%, its lowest figure since January, just before the war broke out in Ukraine, when the CPI stood at 6.1% according to the final figure published today. Inflation has been moderating for 3 months in a row, with the fall in energy prices, especially electricity and, to a lesser extent, gas, although food price rises have broken records, rising by 1 point to 15.4%. So food prices difficult to control, up 15.4%. or 15.3% according to the headline. So I don't know which is the exact figure. And I am noticing it every time I go to the supermarket. Some products especially are quite expensive at the moment, especially fruit and veg, and some meat products also more expensive than normal. Eggs also more expensive. Milk has gone up quite a lot as well. So getting hit hard when it comes to increasing supermarket prices here in Spain. Olive oil through the roof at the moment. Very expensive. Now, third piece of news today, this one here. Spain's baby boomers' retirement will push up pension spending. Will pensions be guaranteed in the future? That's the question they are asking. There are currently 10 million pensioners in Spain, most of them retired. We hope so. According to forecasts, the figure will be 50% higher in 2050 as a result of the retirement of the baby boom generation, which includes Spaniards born between 1957 and 1977, and the expected increase in life expectancy. This paints a worrying picture for the pension system and a major challenge for the country as a whole, bearing in mind that the generation that takes over from them is much smaller. Against this backdrop, will the pensions of the future be guaranteed? Interesting question. According to data from the INE again, 31% of Spaniards belong to the baby boomer generation, which will leave the labour market in the next 20 years. The generation that will pay part of their pensions will be the millennials, who were born between 1981 and 1993 and account for just over 16% of the population. This is compounded by worsening working conditions and a stagnating birth rate, while life expectancy continues to rise. So, will pensions be guaranteed in the future? I, for one, hope so, but there's no guarantee, because as we know, that changing demographic here in Spain, a lot of people retiring over the next 20 years, and not a lot of people have been born in the last 20 or 30 years. Very low birth rate in this country, and a lot of people are suggesting that immigration is the key to sustaining the pension system. But again, salaries are low. We had an enormous crisis in the middle there back in 2008 through to 2014, where a lot of people weren't contributing to the system, which wasn't good for it. So the question is always hanging above our heads, is the Spanish pension system sustainable? And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, I hope so, because of all the money that you put into the system, basically. So you want to be able to get something out, or a decent pension out of it in a few years' time when I retire, and when the rest of the baby boomer generation, which I belong to in this country, even though I was not born in this country. My age means that I'm in the baby boomer bracket. Different demographics to England, Australia, states where the baby boomer generation was after the Second World War. Here, as we saw, it was 57 to 77, so a different generation. And as I said, those are the people that are coming up to retirement over the next couple of decades. So, an interesting situation for the country. Will the state pension system be sustainable for the future, or will Spain have to move on to a different type of system? I don't know. Maybe a system similar to New Zealand or Australia or some South American countries where they have a more of a savings. You save your own money for your pension rather than depending on the state. It'll be interesting to see. Now, next piece of news. 10 days of rain ahead. Succession of storm and a cold front ushers in winter weather. The long-awaited rains will finally make their appearance on the Iberian Peninsula. Over the next 10 days, precipitation is expected over much of the country. After an early autumn that seemed more like summer, the winter weather will finally make its appearance. However, first, the water will arrive at the end of the week, the low temperatures. And at the end of the week, the low temperatures. This is confirmed by the spokesman for the AEMET, Ruben del Campo, who has pointed out that over the next few days, the weather will be marked by the passage of the frontal systems associated with Atlantic squalls, which will give rain to the whole territory, the whole Spanish territory, especially in the west and north of the peninsula. The weekend will see a marked and generalized drop in temperatures, and there will be snowfall in most of the mountain systems, according to the Weather Bureau. So, there we go. 10 days of rain ahead for mainland Spain. Succession of storms. Cold weather on the way. Temperatures dropping. And I know for a lot of people it's about time, because they were sick of that summery autumn. I mean, it was okay there for a while, but it was a bit uncomfortable, especially with the colder nights and warmer days. Difficult to know what to wear. That's one of the problems that I have. I don't know what to put on. You put a coat on in the morning, and by the afternoon you're in a t-shirt. Very strange weather indeed, but colder weather coming. And as I said, rain, which a lot of Spain desperately needs. So hopefully the areas that need the rain the most will get it. Last piece of news. The butane gas bottle drops almost 5% to €18.58 as of today. Good news for people that don't have natural gas directly to their home. The maximum price of the 12.5 kilo butane gas bottle will drop to €18.58 or €18.58 from Tuesday, the 15th of November, which represents a drop of almost 5% according to a resolution published on Monday in the official State Gazette. This price will be maintained until the 17th of January, when the next review will take place. The maximum sale value of bottled liquefied petroleum gases, LPG, in containers of between 8 and 20 kilograms, the traditional butane cylinder, is not liberalised. Its value is reviewed bi-monthly on the third Tuesday of the month by resolution of the Directorate General for Energy Policy and Mines. So there we go, it's not liberalised. So the government able to control the price there, €18.58 until the 17th of January. So good news there for people that rely on bottled gas to heat their homes. Maybe not to heat their homes, but at least to heat the water and cooking, which is what a lot of people use that gas for. So good to see that the price is being maintained there for the next couple of months. Now, word of the day, tocayo, namesake. Example, ¿te llamas Pedro? Yo también. Somos tocayos. Your name is Pedro. Me too. We are namesakes. Now, this is a word that you will hear quite often, especially when two people have the same name that are in the same room. Hola tocayo. For me, it's a bit difficult to find somebody with the same name here in Spain. In fact, I haven't met a Spanish person with my name. But if you've got a name in English that is translatable into English, for example, David, David, for example, maybe Gloria, that's a name that can be used in both countries fairly easily. You can find your tocayo. But of course, more common amongst Spanish people, Jose's are everywhere, Juan's are everywhere, Jesus's, Roberto's, Angel. A lot of those names very common, and plenty of people going around with the same name. Namesakes, tocayo, the word. All right, good. We'll go into the first comment of the day. From Mike, I've just had the best medical service in the last month. Unbelievable. Malaga, from doctor to operation. Excellent, says Mike. So there we go. Another person talking highly of the health system here in Spain, which is good to see. We know that in Madrid there's a few problems at the moment. Getting appointments to see a GP is the hardest part. Getting into the system's a little bit difficult. Getting an operation can take a while as well. Seeing a specialist also can be difficult, but various people have told us over the last few days that the health system where they are in Spain, whether it's in Castilla y León, Malaga, Alicante, the Valencian community, seems to work fairly well. So that's good news. Next comment. Alicia Borgman. We have been a legal entity in the Malaga-Cádiz area since 2011. Our business is generally pool heating, covers, pool removable safety fencing plus construction. Hardest thing being legal, properly insured, legally employing people. Not for the faint-hearted. Proud though of our achievements. Pretty much all the companies we knew when we started, bars, are no longer, not their fault, just seriously difficult to manage the bureaucracy. Now, this was an article that we saw yesterday, I think it was, that spoke about the fact that the first 20% of all businesses in their first year go broke here in Spain, which I think is a common trend when it comes to setting up a business in different countries. I don't think Spain is unique when it comes to that statistic. But very, very difficult to get through that bureaucracy, to get through the licenses, all of the things that you need, plus keeping customers happy, all of those things. So not easy to set up a business in this country, and first-hand experience here from Alicia saying that in business since 2011, pool heating covers, hardest thing, legal, properly insured, legally employing people, not for the faint-hearted, and definitely I would recommend those words there from Alicia. You're getting into business here in this country, or any other country for that matter, is not for the faint-hearted. Or a lot of people do try, but the statistics are against us, people that go into business. So that's why a lot of people end up working for somebody else, because it just takes the hassle out of their day-to-day. They don't have to think about their business or about their work after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. when they knock off. The weekends are free. Whereas if you've got your own business, sometimes it can be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week thing. So that's one of the issues with running your own business. But the bureaucracy can be a real problem for a lot of businesses in this country, as we know. Not really a business-friendly country. All right, good. Let's have a look at another comment. One here from John. Came to Spain with my 3 children in late July, Mallorca. Didn't see any drunk or antisocial behaviour. Can I point out that Spain isn't cheap, especially since the euro was instated? It actually cost me a lot of money. Yeah, when you go to places like Mallorca, as we have been chatting about a lot recently, the Mallorcan Tourist Board is under pressure at the moment to explain some comments that were given to the British tabloid press about not wanting the lower level tourism in the Balearics, the people that looking for a cheap holiday. And we've had quite a few comments on the channel in recent times about people saying that, you're paying 4, 5, 6 euros for a drink there now in Mallorca in some bars and restaurants. So the prices are being pushed up in that part of the country. Fortunately, there are other parts of Spain where you can still get a cheap holiday. Not sure for how long that will be, but you go to some of the Mediterranean areas on mainland Spain, you can still find cheaper prices. The typical ones, Benidorm, for example, some places in Catalonia there as well, other parts of the Valencian coast, where Spanish people go on holiday. That would be a good idea as well. Find out where the Spanish go on holiday and go there, because it would be cheaper. because they're not willing to pay expensive prices for drinks and food. So work out where the Spanish go, and that is a place where you could get a cheap holiday. Well, another comment. Jonathan, when I was in Spain earlier in the year, I kept hearing people talking about turismo de calidad. People had different ideas about what that meant, but it definitely means less people, but more spending. That's an expression that you will hear a lot here in Spain, turismo de calidad. Queremos turismo de calidad. And you'll hear places like Mallorca saying that. You'll hear places on the coast saying that. They want less tourists, but they want people to spend more. And that's the idea of the government at the moment. They're trying to push that change in the tourism sector. They still want people to come, but they want people to spend more money. And that's one of the reasons why places like Mallorca are increasing prices and trying to get rid of that low-end tourism, which for years has been dominating the tourist scene dominating the scene in some tourist parts of the country. But will it change? I don't know. I suppose if you put prices up, if you put hotel prices up, and I think that's what they said in the Balearic Islands, that if a hotel wants to renovate, if it wants to, do an upgrade, they have to abide to certain rules and regulations. So they might have to, if you want to put do some type of renovations, they're going to get you to lower the amount of beds in the hotel. Otherwise, you won't get a license. So that's what they're doing. They're forcing this new model onto a lot of the hotels there. So as I said, if they want licenses to do renovation works, lower the amount of beds. Less hotel beds in Mallorca, less tourists. That's the way it's going to work, I think, going forward. But interesting. Thanks for the comment there, Jonathan. All right, now I'm going to wrap the live stream up. Thank you very much for your participation today. Hasta luego. Hasta entonces. Adiós.